you know that you have an initial witness list,
Yep.
and then all of a sudden, if things aren't going your way, you start throwing up Hail Marys, and there's a lot of people that get added to that list.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's what I was going to say that to you, Tony, earlier when you brought up the witness list. Yeah, during discovery, like I said, you're going to bring up an initial witness list, potential witnesses. Now, can you always add? Yeah, a lot of times are key witnesses and expert witnesses that you add on later. Could Sebastian be considered a key? Yeah, absolutely. Now, you can throw him on there if you need to.
Well, and maybe out of respect for Seth or whoever,
Yes.
Nina would have left Sebastian off that list because she didn't want to drag another child through that. But if it got to
Anything's
the point
possible.
that she was going, yeah, well, if she got to the point where she's going to lose custody of Faith, then all of a sudden she's ready to throw up the Hail Marys.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, then again, guys, just this is a theory. This is a theory of mine and Delta's.
Yes. Do not run with this, okay? Do not run with this.
Yeah.
This is just a theory. Just because Tony's in here and talking about it too does not make this legit. This is just a theory.
And understand, Tony at no point during this agreed with anything me and Delta said. So that
Absolutely.
doesn't mean he's on board with this.
What I like about Shane, you and the other Tony is, Tony reached out to me and said, hey, do you have issue with us sharing this? The thing is, even with Seth, we don't have any issue with anybody discussing theories, talking about the case. The issues when the attacks start. I mean, if people are having productive case discussion, I mean, that's what the true crime genre is all about.
Well, let me say,
Ocean in the comments says that I work in family law and it's highly unlikely Sebastian would be allowed to testify. Go ahead, Shane.
he would be highly unlikely what?
To testify.
Well, you got to understand something, though. She may know that, and we may know that, but not all criminals or people thinking with a criminal mind know that.
But why wouldn't he? If he's 15 years old, why wouldn't he be able to testify?
He would be. I don't know.
And I mean, at the very least, they could assign a guardian ad litem, right?
What's that?
I said at the very least, they could assign a guardian ad litem to get his.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he can testify.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, are you a family attorney or you just work in the field? There's, it's different thing here.
Well, and I think with him being high functioning, I mean, clearly they would have to qualify the witness, so to speak. And I think there would be a process to him being able to testify. But, if we believe, and we've been told time and time again, that he was very normal even at school, I think if push came to shove, I think he could be put on the stand.
Well, yeah, T-Ness, I understand you saying he probably wouldn't be a credible witness, but you'd be surprised. Okay, listen, people think of the word autism, and for some reason they think stupid.
Yeah, some autistic children are very intelligent.
Very brilliant.
And they articulate their words very well.
She knows she has an autistic son. So I'm just putting that out there. So she knows how all of that works.
Okay.
But I guess the point is that, we've got a lot of intelligent folks on here. The point is, if you're in CP's shoes, do you really want to even take the chance?
Absolutely.
Yeah. But, I go back, you got to understand, and I know Delta knows this, that I've seen things in my career that, any intelligent individual would definitely think more logical and wouldn't go the route that some more unintelligent people choose to take. And sometimes things that just that make perfect sense do not in the minds of criminals.
You're right. You're absolutely right. You know, you got to understand, people's demeanors change every day. Okay, especially when you in a case like this, if you're innocent, you're sleeping, I mean, I'm gonna say sleeping like a baby, but you got nothing to worry about as far as the law.
You can look yourself in the mirror.
What's that?
You can look yourself in the mirror if you're innocent.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're guilty, guess what? Your demeanor is going to change every day.
Well, and let's look at Seth, right? We've got video after video where he's lost his cool with an interview. What we have to worry about with him is keeping his composure. We don't have to worry about him getting his story straight.
Right. And his energy is coming from passion and love for his son and fear. And that's all it is.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, as someone who's taken behavioral and interview interrogation tactic classes and stuff, I at no point felt at all, and I'm a very skeptical individual, very skeptical. Everybody is suspect in my eyes until proven otherwise. But I was so comfortable with what I saw in the video with him that I rolled him out immediately, and that's not like me.
Yeah.
I would challenge all of us productively to look at every interview Seth has ever done, even far before I got involved, which would have been 2 months before I got involved, and find an interview where he contradicts himself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're
And
not
yeah,
going to
look,
find one.
and somebody look, yeah. When I say he can testify, I'm not saying he can be on the stand. It could be in chambers, but all I'm saying is he can testify, whether it's on the stand, whether it's in chambers, wherever.
Tony, I have to say this. I was actually pretty impressed with him because I'm going to tell you, if I was in his shoes, I think I would probably be in prison because that other man would be answering to me, and it wouldn't be through law enforcement.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have to be very careful what I say, but
No,
you and Delta have been. We've talked offline, and I think you guys know me well enough to know that I don't think I'd be waiting for LE.
Right.
absolutely.
And I watch all of Betty's videos because I really like her as a true crime person and just a human, and I really like her for what she stands for in this case. But she was on one of her lives, and somebody was now early on. I will tell you that Seth and I did have, just like Randy Harris and I have, we had signals in an interview and very normal type things where if he didn't want to take a question, he would let me know. Or if he wanted me to take the question, he would let me know. So all of that is very, very normal for an innocent grieving father. But somebody made the comment, and she was talking about it in a live, that I was giving him hand signals. And in her long interview, 2.5 hours, and she said she went back through and watched the whole interview and she never saw anything. And she said, I don't know why he would need to do that because I could hear them texting each other while the interview was going on. Well, I reached out to Betty and I sent her a screenshot, and there was 2 texts that I sent back to back, and it was 1 hour into the interview where he really got emotional. And my only text to that man was, deep breaths, buddy. You're doing great. And that was it. The rest of that was just Seth in the raw Seth being broken, Seth being emotional, and him being an innocent, grieving father.
Listen, Tony, you don't have to explain to us. I guarantee you, and I'll say this, that any detective that was watching that interview and saw that already knew that it was, it wasn't what you're being or whatever this individual was saying. I just, a lot of people, and here again, a lot of people, and I'm not bad mouthing anybody, okay? So please don't take this any way. But there's a lot of people out there who think they understand body language. Yeah, you might understand some of the basics, but there's a lot of unspoken and unnatural movement that people make that most people who don't deal in that or have even been trained in that would ever pick up on. But Tony,
Well,
I think you're doing a great job being the middleman and being clear about, what you do and don't want to speak on. And I respect that.
I appreciate that, buddy. I mean, and I think the other thing that's important for people to understand is there is a difference. I mean, it'd be no different if I was a spokesperson for you or Delta. I can coach you, but it's very unlikely that I'm going to be able to control a grown man that is missing his son. So, I can give him tips, I can coach him through the interview, but I think, one of the things we know and love about Seth is, I may tell him before the interview, hey, no F bombs tonight. And then the interview gets rolling and it's like Hiroshima. It's bomb,
Yeah.
bomb, bomb.
Yeah.
And you know what? And I'm not going to cut him off midstream. I'm going to let him show the world that he is angry, he's frustrated, and he's broken.
Yeah. We're talking about raw emotions here. I'll be honest with you. I'd have probably been dropping the F-bomb every 5 minutes on that interview if it were my child.
Yeah, I think he's being judged far too harshly.
Well, here's the thing, and I can tell you from somebody who hasn't been there from day one when this happened, there's nothing that man has done that I've seen that even warrants me into even with an inkling of thinking that he had anything to do with this.
No,
Right.
you're right. Nothing. Absolutely not.
And I'll say this too. I think that everybody looks at Bullhorn Betty as to how she got her nickname. I don't think she gets near enough credit for being a highly skilled interviewer.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
I
That was
have
the
to
best interview.
I have to say this. I was watching some of her interviews, and I've been on a few of her lives. I believe I have. Yeah, I think I have. She conducts herself very well. She's very professional, and she's very to the point, straight to the point. And I agree with you, Tony, totally with her.
You can't hide being a dummy. And she clearly has a high IQ. I mean, she's articulated well. She understood how to get the story out of Seth and still respect him and show love for him. And honestly, I think she did as good of a job as even the mainstream media folks, probably better.
Oh
I
yeah,
would say
absolutely.
better.
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely better.
She did it with no sensationalism. She did it with feeling and heart.
And no drama.
Right. That was a really great interview, and I thought he responded perfectly.
Yeah, she did. Like I said, she did a phenomenal job. She knew exactly. I mean, very, very professional. I tell you, when I was ever in an interview, I wish she was the one that would ask me, because that's how good she is.
Well, she's probably the most professional, unprofessional that I've ever seen. And what I mean by that is someone who's not in directly, like your talk show hosts and stuff like that on TV. She does a very good job.
Well, and the thing that people don't see is that before that interview, we knew that interview was coming for about a week. And 4 or 5 days before that interview, she sent a full itinerary, bullet pointed out, with directions as to how to handle any drama, as to what her mods' capabilities were, and to how to handle if there was a question asked that we didn't like or didn't want to answer. And she gave us a chance to strike any questions on the itinerary well before the interview. And we have not had, that's what I expect from most of these people, but that's not what we get. It's very generalized. It's over the phone. You know, I'm going to ask him questions like this, and this, but I've never gotten it bullet pointed like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that look, there's platforms up here that know what they're doing, okay, and do it with respect, and they just handle themselves great. You know, Kayla, I'm going to consider you one of them. You keep this platform alive, you keep Sebastian alive, you keep us updated. Tony, again, I give you utmost respect on what you're doing, what you're going through, and what Seth's going through. I mean, I pray every night for both of you.
Appreciate it, buddy.
How is he doing?
You know, he was a little wound up today about a few things that were out there in print form on different media sites, but all in all, he's doing okay. I mean, we still got some jokes out of him, and you know, we try to keep him lighthearted. We try to keep him joking and laughing, and you know, there's probably going to be a time in the next 3 or 4 weeks where I'm going to probably go back to Tennessee and probably going to spend a week or two there and just, you know, give him somebody there by his side.
That is so nice of you.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's great, Tony.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I stay good.
You have more energy than I do. I don't know how you do it.
Yeah, you just you got to realize that what your job is. Your job is to take the arrows so your client doesn't have to. And you know, if there's arrows to be taken, it's me that wants to take those. So, you know, people say, well, you've got really thick skin, you've been attacked, you've been this, you've been that. That's just part of the job.
Yes, and let us say that even though you handle it very well, it doesn't mean it doesn't affect you.
You know, I think it affects my wife more than it does me because she is on TikTok and she sees things or whatever. But, you know, I told her, I said, hey, if it gets to the point where it bothers you, just check out, you know, stay off those platforms and let me do what I do and, you know, go on to something else. Somebody asked a question here. How's Randy and Becky doing? Kelly, they're doing well. I mean, Randy and Becky are very plugged into their faith. And you talk about people that are strong. They're as strong as I've ever seen.
Are there any new leads on Caleb?
I don't think there's going to be any new leads that are going to be shared with the public. I think it's just a very, very strong digital investigation. And I think there is mountains and mountains. If you guys can think back to Brian Koberger, where they talked about these hundreds of terabytes,
Mm-hmm.
I think we're looking at something similar to that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Everybody keeps talking about this body they found in the Cumberland River today.
Yeah, it was a drowning victim.
Yeah.
That's what I've been trying to tell everybody.
Yeah, because it was a search and rescue that ended up being
and then a recovery.
a recovery, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Guys, I've got a call. I've got to make a phone call right quick. I'll be back.
Okay.
All right, Tony.
You know, I have to say, I saw, I don't know if I told you, Tony, but I saw a picture of Tony. And you know how when you're talking to people over this, you always picture what their voice must look like.
Right, right.
And when I saw Tony, I was like, wow, that's not really what I expected, but hey, it is what it is.
What did you expect?
I don't know, but I just, the voice to me didn't look like it went with the picture.
Yeah, like I said, hope, that's all we got for right now. And that's something to hold on to.
It is. Hope gives you drive.
Yep. But then again, I want to again, this theory is Shane and I came up with. Nobody else, not Kayla, not Tony, nobody. Even though we talked about it, Tony never once agreed with us. So we're just thinking outside the box.
Well, we have to think outside the box at this point, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, we've gone in circles long enough.
It's time to expand it. You're right. Absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like that area is no good. It's no good.
Yeah, people, like I said, again, if people with just a little bit of IQ can pick up what we're throwing. Okay, again, we're not here to convince anybody. We're throwing. I mean, look, somebody in the comments earlier said, they had a different theory. Absolutely. Come up, let us know what your theory is.
Right.
I mean, we're not saying we are right. If somebody else got a different theory, please let us know. We could be wrong. You could be right.
That's why it's called a theory.
Our theory is based on our experience in law enforcement and investigations. That's where our theory comes from. Does that mean we're right? No. If that were the case, then every detective in America that was on the force and lawyer we would know it all, and we would be perfect at solving everything that we dealt with.
Oh yeah, they all would be reaching out to us.
It takes different people with different experiences and different avenues to investigate to come to that conclusion. I'll do this, and I'm not saying this to brag, it's just something that some people have intuition, some people don't. You can be taught investigative skills, but the one thing you can't be taught is intuition. I was fortunate enough years ago to get the case of an individual that was wanted by the U.S. Marshals that they could not find. And with my theory and my thoughts, with the facts that I had, I was able to take that man into custody after they had been looking for him for 2 years.
Wow.
Damn.
Yeah, and people saying basically, instead of us going over with this story, I'm just going to give you the short version. We believe, again, as far as me and Shane. Okay, I don't know who else I can include in this, but Shane and I came up with the theory that I believe that he's alive. Right, Shane? We believe 50-50.
Yes.
50-50 that he's alive, and we believe he might be on tribal land in Alaska.
And there's a reason that we led up to that conclusion. So it wasn't just like, hey, there's Alaska, there's land. There's facts that lead to this. So that's why we came to that conclusion.
They're not saying that they're right or that they have proof. This is their theory based on the facts that they have at hand.
Sorry, I had to drop down. My daughter called FaceTime and so she could talk to my grandson.
I figured that's probably what it was.
Yeah,
That's why I couldn't get through to you on the phone.
that's right.
Tony said he'll be back. He had to make a call.
Oh, okay. Anything good happen?
Just tossing, thoughts and facts around. And we talked about Seth. He said he's doing pretty good, except for a few things that he'd read, and otherwise he's doing all right. And
Yeah.
Well, that's good to hear.
they said they've been keeping him laughing and trying to keep him in better spirits.
That's
Well,
good.
Tony did say that here soon he's going to take a week and go down there so he can have someone by his side.
Oh, that's awesome. That would be good for him.
And the body that was found in the Cumberland River was a drowning. It was a rescue turned recovery.
Which means it was not Sebastian.
Correct.
Well, it's a sad situation, no matter which way you look at it. But
It is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not even the feds. I gotta scroll up and see what Karen said before that. No jurisdiction if he's on tribal land, not even the feds.
Yeah, nobody. That's
That's what we
their
were
own
talking
state. Let's put it this way. That's their own state.
Whether we like it or not, just know this: tribal police can stand there with their middle fingers out, and the federal government can't do nothing.
so then basically it wouldn't do any good to even have flyers in Alaska.
Well, I mean, you got to understand. This is a theory.
Right.
I'm not totally against the fact that he's necessarily staying on tribal land. He could be
Right.
on and off tribal land. If the heat gets thick, it wouldn't be hard to step onto tribal land.
Okay.
Yeah, not to mention, would it hurt? Absolutely not. Because who knows? You might say somebody, yeah, hey, he's
Well, yeah. I meant going along with the theory,
yeah, anybody, hey, yeah, he's here. Okay. Guess what? Now everybody's looking at a different direction.
Right.
At least you got another starting point.
Comment Teeny says tribal land, so you all think Nina is involved. CP isn't of Indian descent, is what she said.
I won't go into who I think it is, but
Right. Let's put it this way. There was, what did Tony say the lady was? Who took a leave of absence?
yeah,
Yeah, we didn't say the name. We've never publicly said the name.
that's
But
why.
yes,
That's
it's a
why I
family
said
member.
yeah.
Yeah.
he did. Well, we know. Was she what was her profession, if you can remind me? Had something to do with,
Psychiatrist.
what is it?
Psychiatrist.
Psychiatrist.
Psychiatrist. Okay.
Nobody has said that Nina is involved.
Nope, nobody said Nina's name. That's the first I've heard of Nina's name.
I don't even know who Nina is.
No, just someone in the comments mentioned her.
Yeah. And as far as
No.
Proudfoot is Scottish, again, so it could be Scottish, but it could also be Native American.
No, we are not saying Sebastian psychiatrist. No, not at all. We're talking about a family member that is a psychiatrist.
Well, Nina, the Chris Proudfoot's ex-wife, is of Indian descent too.
Yes.
I don't think she's involved in any way. She had way too much to lose.
Yeah. Welcome back, Tony.
Well, you got to understand, though. I agree. I mean, I can't. I guess I can agree with that, but you know, from this perspective on this side, that everybody's suspect.
Yeah. And another way to look at that too, I mean, how many of us are not from some type of Indian background? I mean, I am, you know, I have a lot of Indian in me. So, I mean, there's too many people out there that have it, at least some in them.
Yes,
Throw that out there.
There's a difference between people who have Indian in them, and then there's a difference between people who still have connections of Indian in them.
Right.
Right. I'm just going off of some of these comments.
Oh, he's so cute.
Again, okay, you guys keep going. Again, I
Thank you.
don't know who this Nina is. So.
Nina is Chris Proudfoot's ex-wife.
Nina's crowd. Okay, I don't know. Well, nobody's
Nina
mentioned.
is the stepdad's ex-wife, who is the mother of Faith.
Yeah, again, we never mentioned her up here, so.
One of several.
One of several.
Jen, is KP number 4 or number 5?
KP is number 5. Nina was number 4.
It'd be interesting, just for my curiosity alone, to know who divorced who on each of those.
I know who my mommy's on.
Right.
Yeah, me too.
Absolutely.
And I would love to hear from the other 3.
Right. That's what I was getting at. I feel like the mom, because I'm not going to say names, but I feel like the mom really needs to open up more.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I've said all along that mom's the weak link in this whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, that's what CP refers to her as, is the mom.
I know, you heard that. Wasn't that
Yeah.
insane?
Not my wife, not Sebastian's mom, but the mom.
The mom and her son. The mom's son.
Exactly. But yet he thinks of him as a son. Okay, yeah. In which universe?
The one where his sky is purple.
Yeah.
The one in Alaska.
Yeah.
And I think the secret is not just with KP talking, it's the 3-hour phone call.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was weird to me too, because she said, I was laying on the couch and fell asleep and woke up at midnight to go to bed. Or I've also heard that she was reading a book. I've also heard her say that she was studying.
Uh-huh.
Like, which is it? And why are you on the phone in any of those situations?
I think that phone call was just an open phone call with no speaking involved. That's my theory.
Well, and Shane can tell you guys this. They can try to say that 3-hour phone calls were normal, regardless of what was going on in their marriage. I don't believe that to be true. You're not going to be able to get around when they start combing through those phone records.
Correct.
Right. That's why I think that the phone call was just an open phone call. I think that they did call each other and left that line open for that amount of time, but no one was actually on the phone because he was there. I feel like his phone was in Memphis and he was there.
Well, again, the speculation I'm coming with is again, it's that 911 call. Okay. Why would he not call 9? Okay, I could say, let's give mom a little credit and say, okay, she was panicked. She didn't know. She called her boyfriend, husband, whatever the hell he is. She called him. Well, his first response will be, I got you. Let me call 911. He wouldn't call a personal sheriff himself. That just doesn't add up.
Unless you don't want it recorded.
Unless you don't want it pinged at that location.
That's what I said, but also get this, understand this. You wouldn't want the weaker of the two links to be making the conversation of a report when the other one can make the report and stick by it better.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's all about controlling the narrative.
Absolutely. It's easier to stick to the narrative when you're the one that's making the narrative,
Yep.
which also explains why he does all the talking.
Well, and that brings me to a question there. Maybe you can answer, Tone. I haven't heard anything about it. Have any phones been pinged?
I would say we would have to be half delusional to not think that the phones have been pinged. I would also speculate, again, pure speculation, but I've been heavily involved in Caleb's case, and most of these cases where there's a lot of digital evidence, there's geofences that are issued very, very early.
Okay. But there's none that you guys can say yes, 100%.
That wouldn't be shared with us, I don't believe.
Okay.
Yeah, that definitely wouldn't be shared with you.
Okay. That's what I'm kind of wondering.
And for all of the folks or the audience that is not from an LE background, a criminal defense background, or hasn't been involved in one of these cases, if you could comment, does anybody not understand how a geofence works? Because we can certainly discuss that. You understand clearly how that works, right, Shane?
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of people that say they don't understand. Do you want to explain that?
Well, here's the thing. The geophysics, you're talking about the towers and the pinging, correct?
Yeah, the geofence, so to speak.
Well, give me what you mean by the geofence.
So what they do is they have the fence is obviously a figurative term, not a literal term. What they do is, let's say they have a point of interest at 3:00 in the morning, like they do in Caleb's case. They will pull an area based on the triangulation of the tower, and they'll be able to tell you every phone number
Absolutely.
that was active in that area at that time. And it's highly, highly effective.
Yes, and they're able to do that at different times. So that basically, in essence, if that number at any point rang, or I should say not just rang, but was answered and or made a call, it would show.
Yeah, exactly. And they're very specific with those pings on the geofence. I mean, I'm talking within 30 feet or so.
Almost down. Oh, yeah, it's almost. I forget what it is. It's actually, I think it's almost less than that.
Yeah,
so
it's if you look at again, different stuff, but if you take Letitia James, remember you heard her trial where they pinged his phone at her house.
That's correct. And so, like, for the folks in the audience that were commenting, if Shane and Delta and I, if there was a crime that was committed at an intersection of a 7-Eleven at 2:30 in the morning, they could put a geofence over that area, and they would clearly be able to see that the three of us were in the parking lot of that 7-Eleven. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's very effective. Now understand something. If they were able to pick it up, now let's say that the phone rang and it was with this location that they were checking. If there's no talking, that's how they can connect you to it. So if you're talking and it hits on that phone, then we know without a doubt that's where you were at. Now, we can only assume and speculate and say the phone was answered and nobody's talking. Then we can only assume that you were there. But we know without a doubt that your phone was there. So we're able to check to, that's how they would align you up with, whether you were at a location or not, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then that's what people got. Yeah, it'll triangulate your phone, not your personal body, but your phone.
So let's just play through this. You've got so many things, right? And one of you guys made the comment that there's just no perfect crime. I had a long conversation with Jennifer Coffindaffer, who both of you guys know, and she told me that in today's time, she's not sure that she could get away with the crime, and she knows how to do it. So you start looking at ring doorbell cams, traffic cams, cell phone pings, geofencing. It makes it virtually impossible to move around any sort of a neighborhood or city without being caught somewhere.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's just a matter of understand that an investigation also is only as good as the detective that is working it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, again,
not only the talent of that detective, but the lack of pride that would allow him to be able to use all of the resources available.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The only perfect crimes I've ever seen, and look, I mean, you got the mob involved. That's a different story now. Because there's things they can do we can't. But yeah, they're to me, just because crimes haven't been solved doesn't mean it's a perfect crime. No. A perfect crime is where you don't even hear about it.
Yeah, and I've said time and time again, you would be amazed as to what your vehicle's black box is recording.
Oh,
yeah, absolutely.
That's why I think that the motorcycle was involved instead of his truck.
Could be. Low in the chat is asking, so in that same thought, how did Sebastian walk out and not be detected anywhere? Low feels that's impossible.
It goes right back. Well, you're correct, but it goes right back. Not all crimes are perfect, but at the same time, that's why my opinion, I don't know about everybody else's, but my opinion was the only way that child got out of that house was through that garage, which leads me to a vehicle.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% behind you.
Yeah, that's why the dogs, in my opinion, that's why the dogs didn't hit off the front porch.
Absolutely.
Yep.
There was a
The
comment
dogs
here.
never went to the porch, correct?
Correct.
That was my point, early on. So that's why the other reason that my conclusion was the garage and the vehicle.
Well, and for the people that, and that could be all of us that get these feelings day to day, that they just don't have a clue what happened. I'll go back to a statement I made early on, which is, if you understand how these prosecutions work, or these searches work, or these missing children's cases work, when the DA gets involved, that is one of the most powerful bits of evidence that's out there that nobody is paying attention to.
Yeah, Yeah, absolutely. I've saw, again, we talked about that. A DA would get involved only, again, if it's a missing person, does the DA usually get involved? No.
Kathy
DA
wants to know if we know for sure the dogs went to the garage.
Yes.
Well, I said that once before, that that's based on facts that I've been told. I wasn't there, so I can't say factually for anything on this case because I wasn't there. But I would say from the facts that we have received, yes.
Yes. That's what we heard. That's where they lost the scent.
Yeah, and the DA is very important. One, because they don't get involved unless they believe there's a crime that's been committed. But the other role that they play that's very important is they coach the investigative team through how to build their case.
Absolutely.
Yes, and that's what I was saying. When you're in a missing, the DA only gets involved if the detective bureau hands you a case. They'll look it over and say, yeah, hey, I got enough to indict. Or they'll say, no, guess what? You got something good here, but I don't think I got enough to indict. Try to get me some more.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't give the DA credit in the Idaho 4 case, but one of the real MVPs, that police chief, was just spectacular. I mean, he handled pressure like a boss, but the DA in that case is the real MVP.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Monica in the chat has an opinion. Her opinion is that Ellie should have treated it as a crime scene from the beginning. They could have missed evidence.
No, there was
they
no
can't
probable
do
cause.
that. There was no probable cause, exactly.
Now, do we all agree that there should have been a forensics team in that house early? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I mean, shouldn't they have looked at any angle though, instead of only treating it as a runaway?
Well, here's the thing, and I know what Shane's getting ready to say. I mean, you could find anything in that house with plausible deniability that, yeah, I mean, of course you found A, B, and C. He lived here.
Absolutely.
absolutely.
That's why I would say maybe the garage outside.
Tony, I think you're a psychic.
Stop.
Well, and I mean, we found blood here. Yeah, you found blood because 3 weeks ago he cut his finger.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We're talking about a child. What child hasn't cut themselves in their home?
Yeah, DNA would be all over that house. And we were talking about that earlier when somebody asked about the search dogs. Bringing search dogs into that house. That'd be useless. They'd be hitting on DNA everywhere. Well, my kid lives here. Well, yeah, if it's a large amount of blood, but you know what? If I'm not mistaken, correct me, Tony. Didn't a police officer do a walk around of the house when he first arrived?
Yeah, they've been all through that house.
Yeah,
I mean,
so if they've been
out.
if there would have been a pool of blood, they would have noticed it.
Yeah.
And that right there. Now that right there could have given probable cause.
Absolutely.
I think they said they went into the closets, they went into the crawl spaces, the attics. I mean, they've been through the house.
Tony, do you know if they've been through her car?
I don't know that. I saw a statement that they released talking about how they've been all through the house. I can't speak to the car.
Oh, got you.
I
Okay.
mean, I think it would be, everybody's talking about the camper. And again, I mean, the problem with a case like this, to CP's point that it's, something that people might want to study. I mean, what are they, outside of looking for him or his body, what are they looking for in a camper? It's the same situation as the house.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing I would say in the car would be a little bit of forensic saying, okay, what did he sleep in at night? And do you find that same material in the car?
Yeah, and the plausible deniability there is that, well, that was his normal sleep stuff. And
Exactly. That's
there's a lot of times
the issue you'd have. Does he wear that often? No, but that's what he wore last night. Well, that's a different story.
Right. Yeah, we used to go all the time in his pajamas up to get ice cream. you know?
Well, look at the situation with his shoes. That got brought up.
Yeah.
And they specifically said that he goes nowhere without his shoes.
Again, and I believe, look, I think Tony said it also. When you're a DA, you want to have solid evidence to present in front of a jury. Okay? Because you represent this evidence, whether it's for whatever, and the jury comes back with a not guilty verdict, now they're protected under double jeopardy.
Well, let's also say, Delta, law enforcement had to treat this at face value for what it was until they get evidence that proves otherwise. This case was opened as a missing child. Do they suspect that there's foul play? Absolutely. But you can't just assume that and do it. I think you're guilty. Let's just charge you. It doesn't work like that. And anything that law enforcement says and does after they've stepped foot onto that property and took that report is susceptible to any attorney that defends them or in court for whether they were involved or not, that whether they walk or they get or they end up in prison. They've got to be careful on what they say and do.
Yep. And again, Spartan dude, you say DAs don't like to. Actually, nobody likes to lose in court. Not even great attorneys. I mean, yeah, nobody likes to lose.
I mean, come on, Delta. Let's play devil's advocate here. You're a defense attorney. I mean, the first thing you're going to do is see what evidence we have, and then you're going to see what evidence you can get thrown out.
We'll do that during discovery. Absolutely.
And all that. Let's look at the and I don't want to compare it to this, but it's the one case that everybody probably knows about. Look at the situation with the O.J. Simpson trial. They had quite a bit of evidence, but they also had a bunch of evidence that got thrown out because of the way things were done.
Right. The way it was handled.
Yes.
And the very checkered background of one of the detectives.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And I want you guys to know that that was a personal friend of mine that I actually knew, Detective Mark Furman. He lives up there in Idaho. When I was living in Washington, I used to travel, but he was somebody, we weren't best friends. We weren't great friends. We were associates. We knew each other. And I want you to know that, yes, he had a checkered background, but understand that he's actually a very, very damn good detective. And it wasn't because he was corrupt. He just didn't do things perfect. Like, you get comfortable when you're working as many cases as you can imagine that he was working in Los Angeles. And are mistakes made? Absolutely. Do other people of law enforcement come in on crime scenes and mess up? Absolutely. But guess who's going to look bad? It's always going to be the detective that's working the case that's really going to look bad.
Yeah. And if I can, Shane, and correct me if I'm wrong here, guys. And again, a detective, if he's a great detective, he's a great detective. Could he have been a racist? That's got nothing to do as far as just work skills.
And I'll tell you factually that case in itself, not to get off of this case, I will just leave it at this, that there was no case in history then and since then that had more evidence that not just pointed to the suspect, but actually implemented the suspect than the O.J. Simpson trial case.
Yes.
I agree. Well, and to your point, Delta, it wasn't his detective work, because I've heard multiple times that he was a great detective. It was a great defense attorney that took a few of his statements and turned him into something that created reasonable doubt.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yes. And I'll tell you this too. I don't believe you could have had all the evidence in the world up to pictures of him at that crime scene. And I guarantee you at the time when everything was going on, because of that situation with the LA riots and the Rodney King and stuff like that that was going on, they were headhunting, and Detective Mark Furman was the one they were hunting.
Yeah, that Rodney King situation was just as much responsible for OJ getting off as anything else.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I think one juror even came out and said so.
Yes, they did. And, I mean, it is what it is.
And that's something about a jury. If you found him not guilty, but then come out after and say, yeah, I think he did it. Well, you know what? You got to live with that for the rest of your life because you let that man free.
Well, look at what OJ did before he, passed away. I mean, look at the book he wrote, If I Did It. Now, you know damn well he didn't have to.
That was his confession.
That was absolutely his confession.
Yeah. But then again, he knew he was protected by double jeopardy.
Exactly. Of course. But he knew he could make money off that book. So why not do it?
Sure.
But I'll tell you this, and I will leave it at that if you were one of those ones out there that just didn't want OJ convicted, even though with all the evidence there because of some stupid situation with other individuals that happened in totally different incidences, then you're just as much as trash as anybody else, that OJ himself.
Yes.
I agree. And
Tell us how you really feel.
Callie Robin, you asked me to squash a rumor for you, and your question is, did Seth, I mean, this, and I'm not talking about you, sister, because I know you're just asking a question. You've got the eyes rolled because you don't believe this, but the biggest problem we've got out here in these social media streets is people just pulling stuff out of their ass. And the question is, did Seth attend CrimeCon and meet John Walsh and ask for money for an interview? And I actually have had several messages regarding that. First off, he didn't attend CrimeCon at all. We had a member of our team there. Seth was not there at all. Let me tell you my take on CrimeCon. So we had an invite from News Nation, from myself, and for Randy Harris in the Caleb Harris case. Fly us in, put us in VIP, all this baloney. We also had an invitation with Seth and I to do the same thing with Court TV. And I advised both of those fathers to not go anywhere near CrimeCon simply for the fact that they are in active cases, and the way people twist things, if they were to see a father in an active case who claims to be out searching for his child at a crime convention, I can only imagine how people would have taken that and run with it.
Yeah, I agree.
So I told both of those guys it's not something we should do, and neither father was there. What they do, and there's no reason for me to believe that they wouldn't have treated both of these fathers with respect. They would have done their best to keep them isolated, but there's still pictures and whatnot that could have been taken. And I just don't believe it's a place now, a Joe Petito, where he can be a resource and he can be on a panel and he can talk about his experience and help other fathers. I think that's great, but I just don't, I don't believe it's a place for a father with an active case at all. And what they do, just so you guys understand, is they sell tickets to these panels. So they're using, in a roundabout way, they're using these fathers and their children missing to bolster their, call it what you want to call it, ticket sales.
That's horrible.
And I couldn't wrap my brain around why that would be a good idea.
No, look, Tony, again, you were hired for a reason. You got plenty of knowledge. You're advising your client to what you feel is best for him.
Yeah, and I mean, can you imagine if one of these YouTubers or whatever would have, got a camera on him or caught him on the way, from the parking lot or whatever. I mean, can you imagine how Seth would react to that?
Oh, absolutely.
The sad thing is it doesn't matter what Seth does or does not do. He can't win for losing.
Right. Somebody will find fault.
In no matter what it is.
Yep.
Same for Tony. No matter what Tony says or does, you know, he's damned if he does and damned if he doesn't.
Yep.
Yeah,
Has been since before he actually signed on.
Right.
well, and you know, if I'm on TikTok all the time because it's a platform I prefer, having case discussion, creating networks of people that are actually helping, that run a good, clean platform. You know, now I'm TikTok Tony. Well, if I'm not out there accessible, now I'm a jerk for not being accessible to people. So
Yeah, they're never happy.
That's right.
you're just not going.
Yeah. You can't please everyone.
No.
I do find going back to the shoe comment though. I mean,
Yeah, you can never.
Am I the-
I mean,
am I the only one that finds the comment odd where he never leaves home without shoes, and then we're led to believe that he walked out of the house on his own with no shoes?
No, not at all. And I think my theory on that is I feel like they planned everything out to a T. And that is the one detail they forgot to include in their plan. So when they were asked, what was he wearing? It was a, oh crap moment that we forgot about shoes.
yep.
So now we got to say he went barefoot.
Yeah, but let's back up. Let's back up. I thought of that too when I heard that. What I find interesting is that they could have easily said, "Oh yeah, he had a pair of shoes on," because nobody would have really known any different. And I would
but they would, because he had just went through that growth spurt. So Seth knew what shoes had just been purchased for him. That's the only thing about that.
Yeah, but here's my theory on that. And the thing is that Seth can say that all he wants coming from his house. But what goes on at my house doesn't necessarily mean he knows exactly what's going on.
Well, apparently they had just had a conversation about it because Seth had just bought him a pair of boots. And she had, I guess, told him that he only had 2 pairs of shoes at the time. And then so Seth bought him another pair. So I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's something I was not aware of. So yeah, okay.
Right.
And
Did she? I'm sure she told the police, you know, that he's barefoot, and I'm sure he would have been asked, you know, okay, how do you know he's barefoot? She said all shoes are accounted for.
Right.
Yeah.
And she could have easily just said, I bought him a pair of shoes the day before and they're missing. But like I said, I think it was a oh crap moment that they were kind of backed into a corner.
Well, yeah,
they forgot to plan that one.
Because they already had their story mapped out. Yes.
Right.
That makes sense. Reading through the comments here.
Yeah, because nothing else about that makes sense to me, just like what Shane was saying. So that's the only thing plausible in my mind that would be the reason why they said he didn't have shoes on.
Now let me ask 2 questions here. One, how big was Sebastian? Did any of the parents still ever pick Sebastian up?
He was 5'5" and about 120 pounds.
Okay.
Size 10.5 shoe.
That would be no then. Because my next
10.5
question was
shoes.
going to be, how many times has a mother picked their child up, picked them up out of a sleep with no shoes and left in a hurry? But that would make sense because that's set in stone. They're not going to pick that child up and carry him out.
DJ wants to know, did they ever say if Sebastian had socks on?
I've never heard that said.
Saying what?
I've never heard them say if he had socks on or not.
Oh, yeah, I never heard that.
I mean, that question has even been asked of Seth, you know, were all of the socks at Katie's home accounted for, and he didn't know the answer to that.
Someone made a good point. Judy Short said the mom couldn't carry him, but don't you think the stepdad could?
What's that?
Yeah, but yeah, I think he could, but I also think she could have.
You do?
She was in the Navy now.
I think she was in the Navy, and it's alleged that she was in martial arts. So I think she could.
Well, my question would be though, why would you think that she wouldn't just normally, if she was going to leave with him, she wouldn't just wake him up and say, "Let's go"? Why would she pick him up?
And again, correct me, Ken, Jay, Kayla, and if I'm wrong. Okay, the question is no, but if both CP and KP were both home, I don't think the stepfather was home. It was just mom.
That we know
That's what
of.
they say, but he slipped up a couple of times and said we.
I was going to say that's the story that they're telling.
Right.
Well, let's just say
Yeah.
when law enforcement showed up, she was the only one there.
Right. At that
Yes.
point. But he slipped up in an interview. They were talking about the window and, if he could have gone out a window. And they said the screens were on the window and that he would have stepped onto mulch and bushes if he had climbed out of his window. And CP made this statement that we would have heard him.
Right.
And think of this, guys. I think that the reason they're saying that he was there and then he was just poof gone.
Yeah.
That's a story that you could stick to that you wouldn't have to really think about.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when you
Very
start
true.
getting detailed in your lies, you got to be real careful.
Yeah. Yeah, he did slip up a couple of times, Spartan.
Yeah, there's a lot of theories now. Was he home? Could they both carry him to the car? She drove halfway. He took him out of the vehicle. She headed back home. He had to make that phone call. Like you said, K-Jen, an open phone call.
Mm-hmm.
Jennifer says that CP said on Nancy Grace that he had not been home the whole month of February.
But then a neighbor or someone, I can't remember who, had said that he was home for like the first weekend or something of February.
Yeah, and people bringing up he was on a call with Facebook. I can be on Facebook and my better half can be in the other room, right?
Right.
Again, that's a possibility. Past he was, past in Alaska and all that. Yeah, absolutely. Again, but that's a theory. But look, and it's like Shane said. I believe you said this, Shane. The theory we're giving you, I'm sure law enforcement has thought about that too. I should say, I would be shocked if they did.
One of the things that would come to mind for me is, when the parents were painting a story that this child was just gone, one of the questions would definitely be brought up is, could he have run away? And with that being said, the first thing that I would ask is, where do all the family members live? I would want to know everywhere the family lives. And is it a possibility that he ran away to one of these family members? So these are things that would be looked at, not necessarily, but they would be questioned.
What is that?
Somebody bragging, I would know. But do you know if he had a backpack that he used?
I think they said the backpack was still home.
Yeah, my understanding is that the backpack was still at the home.
The only thing that I remember her saying that was unaccounted for was a flashlight.
which would make no sense to me that he would have a flashlight, not his shoes.
Yeah, but wouldn't
Exactly.
that flashlight would have been caught on that ring cam though? I mean, at least
With her knowing surveillance and stuff, she probably would have suspected that a light would have shown up at some point, and maybe that's why. Or maybe she knew of a light that was going to be shining at a certain point. So
I'd
she
like
had
to
to say
know.
that he had that.
I'd
Yeah.
like to know from neighbors if it was always natural and normal for them to not have their outside lights on, or if it was just at night.
Oh, I guarantee the law enforcement canvassed the neighborhood and asked questions.
Well, they did say they had those 2 floodlights on. They said that in one of their interviews on the side of the house. I think they said it was an Avengers flashlight.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think somebody was pranking about a 15-year-old. I know. I think I'm familiar a little bit with Peyton Pickard, and it's totally different. You can't compare. You can't compare this to that.
Yeah, I agree, DM. I mean, I feel like if he had ran away, he would have taken his phone. He would have taken a bag of clothes. He would have taken some food. Yeah, his switch. Yeah.
Well, no, I wouldn't see, and I look into it a little different. The reason being is because I've experienced where we dealt with runaways where they left with what was on their back, and these individuals were found, but they absolutely didn't have extra clothing with them. They didn't have all that.
Okay, so let me ask you this then. On those cases, were all of those just runaways, like going nowhere, or did they have someone that they ran to?
Well, they didn't really. Now, a couple of them they ran away to a friend where they were going to stay. However, I remember one specifically. He had nowhere to go, and he didn't take anything. All he took was a skateboard.
So
And
why do you think the skateboard?
when they canvassed the area, it took them a while, but they found him hiding. But he had left a note saying that he was going to run away. And basically that was it. And you would have expected him to have taken more than what he took, but he didn't. He took the clothes on his back and his skateboard, and that was it.
Right. So, like DM said, do you think that was because it was a favorite possession?
Yeah, probably, most likely.
Okay. So, with a child like Sebastian, who, you know, his whole life pretty much would be based around routine, would you think that it would be possible for him to just run off without taking something with him? I mean, I know your answer. I'm just
I
saying
mean, that's subject to debate with each and every one of us are different, you know. And I would say that, you know, my opinion with everything that's going on, I don't think he's a runaway. That's why.
Right.
I just don't.
And I don't either. Sometimes I just ask these questions because I see the comments and, you know, I already know the answer and I already know what I feel on it, but.
Sure.
Well, let me ask you this, Shane. What would be the difference between a regular runaway and a person with autism that's running away?
Well, I want to say this, you know, we understand this. When I first heard it, I felt automatically it wasn't a runaway,
Right,
with the fact that he had autism, but because he's a high functioning autistic child, you know, now there are situations where I've heard of this with high functioning children. However, they still didn't quite have the mental, what's the word I'm looking for? They didn't have quite the mental, what?
Capacity.
Yeah, to be able to think far enough ahead to make it a plausible and actual, what I would consider an escape. It was more of a, well, I'm just going to run, I'm going to run over here and do this, or I'm going to go to my favorite spot. Whereas some of your other children have a tendency to run off with a friend. So I don't feel that he had the force. I'm still thinking of the words. I don't think he could foresee too far enough into the future that he could think it out that well.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, and somebody in the comment, Jess, yeah, you're right. Could all parents be innocent? Again, nobody's been convicted, so
They could, but they're not making themselves look innocent.
it's not looking good for
part of
them.
it. Right. Right.
Well, let's just say, let's look at the evidence. I'm not looking at the parents. I could care less their name, who they are, or where they came from. I'm looking at the evidence, and the evidence, in my eyes, my opinion, my experience, mom knows the answer to this. She knows exactly where this child is.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There's no doubt. There's no doubt. Absolutely.
And she was the one responsible for him. She was the one that, admits that she was the only one with him. So the answers lie with her, regardless of how you spin it.
What's it going to take for her to talk, though?
I think it's going to take
Getting her away
time.
from CP.
Yep. Take time, get her away from him.
A plea bargain?
Possibly.
Well, wait a minute. Are they married?
Yes.
Yeah, they're not nothing because it's called spousal privilege.
Yeah. Yeah.
But she could choose to testify against him,
No.
right?
Nope. Spousal privilege.
Oh,
Yeah. Spousal
Oh.
privilege.
I thought that meant they couldn't be forced to.
Nope.
Well, now she can come forward and admit.
That's
Yeah,
what I'm saying.
Call forward and admit anything you want, but you cannot
Right.
be forced to testify against them in court.
Right.
Right. That's what I'm saying. They
So you
can't
can't.
force her to,
Well,
but she could
voluntarily.
choose to.
No, because now when spousal rights work both ways.
Right. But if she wanted to come forward and
She
say
can come
something,
forward, but not in court.
right.
Not in court.
Right. Yeah. Right.
She can go to the police department all
She
day
can-
long. Yeah, absolutely.
She can
So
sit.
then anything she says wouldn't stick then?
No, but it can help them. It would help the DA dig deeper, look at a different angle.
Holy
look at
crap.
Stuff that they're,
Well,
look at stuff. They're basically looking at stuff now that they weren't looking at before.
Well, let's say this. Let's say she comes forward willingly, without pressure, and she says, well, yeah, this is what happened. And then their investigation concludes that they're able to find this child one way or the other. And then that can prove her point. It can prove that she most
Right.
likely is telling the truth.
But if she was the only person that came forward and the only thing that had any kind of evidence or anything, then they would throw that out?
Well, there's nothing to throw out. They can use her whatever she says in an investigation.
Yes,
And if
they're
that
not.
investigation leads to evidence that leads to, then yeah, they can connect the dot, but they got to connect the dot in an end around.
Right.
So, which, I mean, I don't think this is going to happen, but let's just say What if they were to get a divorce? Could she testify then, and could
Yes.
that be used in court?
Yes. No.
Absolutely.
Yes. Spousal privilege. is
Even
not-
though they were married at the time it happened.
yes, spousal privilege does not apply in exes.
Okay. Even though they're
Yep.
married at the time. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Once you get divorced, the spousal privilege ends.
Yes.
He's not going to let her ever. He's not going to ever give her a divorce then.
Well, that's if we're speculating that he did have anything to do with it.
I mean, come on.
Right. No, I'm just saying.
We know he's not covering for her.
I understand. I'm just saying, devil's advocate, it wouldn't be the first time that the mother was totally, the boyfriend or the husband didn't want something to do with an ex child and did something behind his back. Even if he knew after the fact that she had something to do with it, but it wouldn't be the 1st time.
Right. No, I know. I'm just saying in this case, with his family and his reputation, I don't feel like there is any chance whatsoever that they would ever cover for her.
Right.
I think they would cover anything for him.
Right.
Yeah, the DA, like I said, they're intelligent. They're smart. They know how to do an end around to anybody, that's got privilege. They know. They can click the dots. They can make a case. Again, I've seen cases been tried without a body.
Right.
Yeah.
That would be a lot harder to do.
Yeah, it's a little harder, but if you connect the dots, and you got forensic and pathology and all that, if you can connect the dots to it, it works.
Yes. You can make
So
a
then
case. If you can make a case and the jury take it, you're good.
Absolutely.
So if she sang like a bird and they still investigated based off of that and found nothing, then they couldn't do anything about it?
No.
That's messed up. Is that in every state though?
Yep.
Yeah, it's different when somebody's singing like a canary and then, all of a sudden, wow, okay, everything came together and we were able to solve this. But if, let's say, she starts talking and talking and talking and then their investigation leads to nothing, then it goes back to, well, it's hearsay. She didn't tell us nothing.
Right. Then again, you got to, when it comes to, I guess, how would I say that? A wife coming up, or even a husband coming up to the DA and saying, "Hey, I want to, how can you help me? I want to tell you what happened." Okay. Now, what if she's telling you a bunch of bullshit?
Well, come on, Delta. You know as well as I do. There's been instances where the suspect that did all the dirty deeds decided to go confront law enforcement and tell them their side of the story, which painted it in the light of how they wanted law enforcement to take it. And they were pointing their finger at the other one, and come to find out it wasn't them.
Right. Now, here's a way, an end around what they can do. If she comes up with facts and they found the body and she says, yes, he was involved, they can do a plea deal with her. Say, okay, you admit to this crime, said crime. You get charged X amount of time. Okay, now, can they use her testimony? Which is different.
Right.
All right.
DJ
Okay, there's
says,
a question. Oh, go ahead.
DJ says Tennessee Code Title 24, spousal privilege does not always apply.
Again, the word always.
Another question DM Cosby had. Hypothetically, could KP say that CP's mom has Sebastian and CP set it up and she had to go along with it.
Why? I mean, yeah, it could definitely, which would play
But-
right into mine and Delta's theory.
But she's saying, would KP get off of it if she said that she was forced to go along with it or something?
No, not. I mean, they may cut her a deal. Am I correct, Delta?
Sorry, I was responding to Jade.
Oh, my bad.
I missed it. No, you're good. What was that?
Ask that question again.
Okay, so someone asked, could CP say that? No, sorry. Could KP say that CP's mom has Sebastian and that CP set it up and that she was forced to go along with it? So could she be charged with it still, or could she take like a plea deal or something?
Well, she still would be charged with accessory because right now, if she would have said that right off the bat, it's one thing. But as long as she keeps playing it.
But what
won't
if
be
she
charged
said
with it.
that? What if she said she was being threatened or her life was in danger or whatever?
No, they would have put her in protective custody.
I'm talking about now. If she came out and said that now.
They could put her in protection with SAC.
Right, but what they're saying, here's the thing: they can work something out with her, but especially if she was threatened. But the investigation would have to show that.
Right.
Right. Someone also asked about your background, Delta.
My background?
If you are retired law enforcement or whatever.
Oh, no. I retired attorney. 23 years. Criminal defense.
Criminal defense attorney.
Got my bachelor's at Open University. Took my LSAT. Did my law at the University of Michigan. Got my JD degree. Took the bar.
I think they were just curious, just based off of your knowledge. I don't think they were like
No.
trying to, yeah.
No, well, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think it was a test, but you passed.
Oh, no. Hey, no worries.
You get a star today.
I get the gold star. Is that what it is?
That's right. You get the gold star.
You get to ride in front of the bus.
You get to pick out of the treasure chest.
Why somehow do I remember that? From grade school.
Here's your participation trophy with a
Yeah.
eggplant on top.
Here we go. No. No eggplant. I knew he was going to make that comment and go there. I really did.
You know it's got to be brought up every time.
I knew he was. I know.
Oh gosh.
Kayla started. It's Kayla's fault.
He said he woke up this morning and had a bunch of DMs from people he doesn't know with all eggplants in them.
Yeah. I'm like, what's that all about?
Whoever did that, thank you. That's great.
Did
And
you
I-
ask people?
and
to
I
do
would have
that? I
been
can't
down there.
remember.
I would have been down there commenting as well.
Yeah, it was kind of. I'm like, whoa, 5 people messaged. Eggplant. What the hell? I'm like, yeah, I give up. At least, I was thinking, at least put a couple squirty thingies in there.
Oh gosh, here we go.
I'm just saying, I mean, Give me something to look forward to when I open
Me.
the DMs.
No offense, Delta, but what do you mean?
Yeah, what do I mean? I know nothing.
I didn't know eggplant squirts.
You know, they squirt all right.
Gooey ducks, dude.
Delta, go get you a donut.
Hey, if you do things right, hey, if you don't,
Kayla,
if it ain't
DoorDash it,
squirting,
baby.
yeah, if it ain't squirting, you ain't doing it right.
I'm good, Gutierrez. Thank you for asking. Took my grandbaby to the water park today.
Nah, I don't plead the fifth. I drink the fifth.
$5,000 one at that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Why? I'm kind of wondering why is Kayla so quiet?
I don't know. Probably have to work tomorrow.
I'll be honest with you. She was so darn quiet, I forgot she was in here.
Yeah, sounds like she's got a mouthful. Just saying.
Nice.
Okay, so I was right.
Mm-hmm.
That's better than last night and Shane and his Whopper.
Yeah,
Right?
that came
was
out of
the-
nowhere. I'm eating a Whopper.
I was like, that was the worst timing.
Hey, he said it with his chest out.
He did.
Well, my mouth wasn't full.
I know it wasn't. I was like, damn, that was just the perfect timing.
I know, right?
Yeah, you couldn't have. Hey, you couldn't have made this up.
Last night was a whole different ball game. I'm not sure what was in the air,
Yeah.
but we were all breathing it in.
The moon was full.
It was definitely full.
Have a good night, DM.
Good night, DM.
Good night.
Yeah,
I
you
can't
Really?
believe how many people agreed with y'all's theory. That was surprising.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and 99% of that was stuff I've been saying all along. Really? You have your opinion too?
You're probably right, buddy.
No, you can't have that. Who did that? You did it.
Yeah, again, everybody theory. That's all it is. Don't anybody run to run. Okay, hold on. I gotta say this right now. Y'all do know right now when you DM me, I can see the emoji, right? Just saying. It's popping up right here on my phone. I don't even have to look. I know.
So the only part of your theory that I was confused on, maybe I missed something, was the part about the family member coming from Alaska to Tennessee.
Well, they left him with a family member in Alaska.
No, I know, but I thought I heard you guys say something about the family member that lives in Alaska traveled to Tennessee
Well,
to bring him back.
because we know of the RV.
Right. But
Most
but CP's mom and stepdad went to Alaska right after he went missing.
Right.
And they live in Gallatin, which is right outside of Hendersonville.
okay, and that's where we, or at least I, was unaware. I was thinking that they came from Alaska.
Oh no.
Yeah.
They went on a business trip there,
No.
but they have other family members that live there.
Correct.
Right.
But you
So-
gotta remember, Cajun, when when the video showed DRV at that convenience store was around the same time mom was at the house with the police officers.
Yes. Okay, so to my understanding, they're still not saying there is a video of that. They're saying they are saying there are eyewitness statements that are saying that she, as in CP's mom, was seen at that convenience store.
I'm not, again, I don't quote me, but I thought it was confirmed.
Yeah, I thought so too.
By who we spoke with, but I could be wrong.
So someone came out and said that Ellie told them that they had video of it, but then Ellie retracted all of that. But there are still eyewitnesses that made a statement, unrelated people, and had the exact same description of everything.
Well, this goes right back to our theory. This is what, that's all it is, because we evidently, there are some things here that still need to be worked out for that theory to even be something that
come true, right?
Right. Okay. The only reason why I was clarifying was because I had missed so much today, and when I came in, I thought that maybe I had missed something and that there was some video footage released or what. I was confused on that part of it.
Yeah, I personally seen the video? No.
Okay.
But from what I'm understanding, and you know what I'm talking about, TJ, it was confirmed that there was a vehicle on the same time at some convenience store, and somebody just said,
yes.
Somebody in the comments just said, and the storage shed next to the store. So, see, I didn't know nothing about the storage shed. So, like I said, I did not see the video.
Yeah, none of us have seen that video, to my knowledge. I know I haven't, and I have not heard of anyone who personally has seen it. I just know about those eyewitness statements.
Yeah, you're right. Without video, everything's hearsay. Absolutely. I'm not gonna disagree there. But the only thing I can go by is the person that tells us, are they credible?
Right. Well, I mean, if it was just one person, then yeah, you could kind of throw that out maybe. But when there's two different people that don't know each other, that both came forward with the same statement, then you have to take that into consideration, that it might be true,
Right.
But regardless of whether anyone has seen video, it still all points to the fact that this theory could be very, very likely.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I want to say that even if it's not, let's say it's not, I still, with the facts that we do know, mom knows where the hell that child is.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
And that's 100%.
Okay, let me say this. If she doesn't know where he's at, she knows what happened to him.
Yeah.
Right, I agree.
She's the key.
100%.
She's the key. Yeah, again, what we said down here, Shane and I, we can only go by what we know, the facts that we put facts together. We try to connect dots. That's all we're doing. We're not saying, hey, he could be in Timbuktu. We don't know. We're just speculating. We're making our own speculation.
Right. And it's like I said, it's what I've been saying. I've been saying this for almost 2 months now.
Oh yeah, I know you have, Ken. And that's where we kind of picked it up, and we're like, she did say this, and it's like, let's start from the beginning. And we're right. Shane
fresh eyes.
Shane goes, let me look into this. Then he called me, and I'm like, I've been thinking about that, and you're right. Everything you're saying makes sense. It's like,
too many coincidences for it not to at least be something to look into. Spartan, to my knowledge, it was her SUV that was seen at the store. I have not heard anything about the RV being mentioned in that. And I cannot remember where it was said, but there was something about that Kathy, CP's mom, was seen around that area a day or two later. So that's how we were able to say that she did not leave until at least a few days after he went missing.
Right.
Well, and also the fact, or I say the fact, RV and SUV could have easily gotten mixed up.
That's true. Three witnesses. One wanted to be completely anonymous and left out of it, but two that spoke up for sure.
Right. I believe two that didn't they give their names?
Yes.
And one that didn't want their names revealed.
Right.
Now say your theory's true.
Okay, the
What
theory's true.
You're fine. What would it take? And I don't mean, because you explained earlier like what it would take, but which agency? Would it be the state level, the federal level that would have to try?
An act of
Which
God.
one?
An act of God.
But which state or federal would it be that opened up the communication with the
It
tribal?
would be both. It would be both. It would be a joint. I would believe it would be a joint force. It'd be a high state representative and somebody from the DOJ.
Yeah, because it would have started locally and then it would have become federal.
Right. So I would say be a joint task force.
And even still, good luck.
And even still, right, he can say, nope. Him stay here.
Just the fact that they have multiple family members and friends, very close friends, that live in Alaska, that just is too much to not look into it, in my opinion.
Well, and the fact that somebody took a leave of absence bothers me.
Right.
Right. Now, here's what also can happen. Can there be, say, law enforcement outside the tribal area? Yeah. Could a family member bring Sebastian to them? Yeah, because once they step out of tribal land, now they're no longer on tribal land.
Right. So what if they suspect the person that maybe has him, the person steps off of tribal land, but Sebastian is still on tribal land? Then what?
Well, then they can question him if he's not on tribal land, unless he's on the scroll.
I'm just saying, if he was left there with someone else and they traveled off of tribal land,
Yeah, but
for whatever reason,
if they're on the scroll, it's like they're a citizen of that land.
Told patrol, hey, here's the situation. If one of them come off tribal land, they so much as speed or run a stop sign or anything, then intervene and stop them because we want to question them.
Yeah, but you mentioned this before, Shane. But they can question him, but they don't have to answer. And if they detain him, you got to call the tribal police.
True. But they can still try to get information. I didn't say
sure.
they'll get the child.
Sure, absolutely. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Look, if they're willing to speak for you, question them. They're willing to speak freely. Yeah, absolutely.
Because at that point, they really have nowhere they can turn other than try to get information.
Absolutely.
Someone said, can't imagine any family members willing to go to jail for KP and CP. I mean, just look at what they did for Nina. Against Nina for them.
I was going to say, you got to understand, first of all, that the family would have to know the intimate background as to why this is going on. They may not know that. This could be a simple, hey, we just want you to, go stay with him for a while. And if you don't think family won't do that, I'll tell you you're wrong, because there's many families that've gotten themselves hung up in investigations because they thought that they could step in and help out
Right.
by hiding a family member.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
not only that, this family has proven that they stick together.
I mean, when I was hunting fugitives, I can tell you that family sticks together sometimes, no matter how heinous the crime is.
Right. I mean, if he's on tribal land, if that's the theory we're going with, he could not even realize he's missing. If they're not letting him watch TV or whatever, he may not even know he's missing. He may think he's just on a vacation.
Well, and I don't think even where they're at that he would be on TV.
Right.
Right.
And you got to remember, if others are involved, yeah, you're involved, I mean, they can be charged with hindering prosecution. So, but they're going to have to prove that they willingly knew. But again, by this point, if everything's going out, I'm sure everybody knows what's going on. And if they don't step forward, well, it's like you had your chance. You can come up and say, hey, wait a minute, I took them there, but hey, I didn't know what was going on.
So
Well,
I have a question. Proudfoot, is that his mother's last name or his biological father's last name? Does anybody know?
Is what now? What'd you say? I'm
Proudfoot.
sorry.
Proudfoot, is that his mother's last name or his biological father's last name?
Father.
Okay, so then it would have to be his father for the tribal shit.
Yes. The Bower Sox is his stepfather's last name.
What's his mother's maiden name? Is it
I cannot
Guy
remember.
or? Like, she's had a lot of names.
Yeah, I don't know. I think a guy may be it, but I don't know if that's a previous marriage or what. But I think that guy is it.
Right.
Okay, so if
Yeah,
this
we're
is-
talking about CP's dad or stepdad, Farrell.
right. So if CP's dad is the one with the last name Proudfoot, and
Uh-huh.
if Proudfoot's connected to the tribe, then it would be CP's biological dad. So why would
Right.
they wouldn't accept the child from CP's mom because she has no family? It would be biological dad's family, right?
Well, she has family there too.
In Alaska,
Or-
but not on the tribe.
Well, we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Understand something too, though. In the old school ways and days of tribals on tribal land, they were very much sticklers about who they allowed to be on land and stay there. However, in this day and age, depending on the location and which tribe you're talking about, it's not as
Right.
strict as it used to be.
Right. And eyes, you said, but if they involve the police, prison them, maybe they'll talk. Yeah, but in order to prison somebody, you're gonna have to indict them, and then to indict someone, you gotta have probable cause.
Yeah, and you can't just kidnap somebody and hold them.
Yeah, you can't hold somebody in prison.
Right.
I mean, you can detain somebody up to 72 hours, but then you got to charge them or let them go.
Right.
There are several people in the comments arguing that Proudfoot is not Native American.
Well, I know what they're saying. It's not, but again,
how far back does it go? Everybody stopping back that I believe they were talking. It's not Scottish, but
Well, while you're thinking, let me say this. How do you know that?
Right. I mean,
okay, yeah.
yes,
It was a
it could be.
Scottish.
Yeah, but I mean, you got to think about how many different sections of people with different last names. I mean, you take the last name Smith, you know, there's Smiths that come from anywhere and everywhere. You just don't know. But we're not saying that it's definitely the Proudfoots. We're saying that they have family there on both sides
The
and
theory.
friends.
This is all a theory.
Yes, CP stepdad is Bower Socks.
Yeah, but you guys got to remember too. Okay, let's say he's Scottish. Okay, and most Scottish are from England, from the UK. Are you saying that there's no reservation in the UK? I mean, I don't understand.
Right. I mean, there's natives, you know, all over. But Janelle, to your comment, FBI does not have jurisdiction on tribal land.
None at all.
That's correct, Monica. Care Bear, no, not if you go through a ferry, you know, leaving out of Washington, or if you fly. Only if you drive through Canada would you have to have a passport.
Where's that? I'm sorry, I missed that.
Someone had said, I had heard someone say that you have to have a passport to get into Alaska.
No, you don't even have to have a passport to get to Canada. All you need is a driver's license.
Yeah. Now they're much stricter when you're coming back to America.
Yeah, that's where the inspection is and gets involved as far as what you're declaring. But to get into Canada, you don't need a passport. All you need is a driver's license.
And Alaska is a U.S. state, so you wouldn't need a passport to fly there, though.
Correct.
You know, there's just a lot of theories and twists and turns.
Right.
It
And
could
they're
be
all worth looking into.
Uh-huh.
You know, some people don't want to hear this theory, but what if it's true? You know, it might not be, but it could be. You know, at this point, you have to look at every angle.
Well, if you have a better theory, bring it up. I mean,
absolutely.
I'm bringing it. Me and Delta are bringing experience to the facts that we have.
Correct.
We're open as as doing investigative work. I can tell you that we're open to anything.
And
they have lots of experience, guys.
And once
Lots
you
of
pay
experience.
a ferry fee, once you pay a ferry fee and you get on the ferry, they're not going to check you. They're not going to. They would have no right to check your vehicle.
Right. Thank you for that comment, Monica. Right, positive. And the same parents went to Puerto Rico not that long ago also. So they first went to Alaska for a few weeks. They went back home, and then later on they went to Puerto Rico for a few weeks.
Look, I'm seeing people saying, yeah, I'm sure there's tribal land all over the U.S.
Right.
I'll be shocked if there's a state that doesn't have one.
Understand something though. It would make more sense to go to a tribal land where you have family than it would for where you wouldn't have family.
Correct.
That's right. Someone asked, are there tribes in North Carolina where they thought they saw the kid that, was thought to be Sebastian?
Like I said, I'm sure they got tribes everywhere.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But this tribal, we're only saying Alaska because there's family involved.
Right.
And it's
DJ.
the furthest point away from everything that is going on.
Absolutely.
DJ says, why wouldn't they show the DA that he is alive and well and visiting family?
What's that?
DJ says, why wouldn't they show the DA that he is alive and well and visiting family?
Because they
They
already
reported him as Runaway.
Yeah. Now they're directly involved in a crime.
Yeah. Now you admitted to a crime. Absolutely.
Right.
They're so deep into it, they can't back their way out now.
Right. They're in a corner now.
They're playing Texas Hold'em and they're all in. They're either going to win or lose. And their 2-card hand is 2 and a 3. Austin. So you tell me the chances of them winning.
Now, they think they've already won it. But we
And
know
that's
better.
that's what's burning them.
Right.
That's what's going to get them in the end, is being overconfident.
Because I've stated it before. I defended plenty of clients who were accused, and this is not how they act. They didn't act like that. Yeah, they might have been caught a year later or a month later, but guess what? They were looking over their shoulder. They were making mistakes. They weren't living. They weren't going out buying, looking at motorcycles or taking trips. Like their life is fantastic. That's just not the MO of somebody you just unalive. And that's why I believe he's alive.
Right.
Well, and I will say that there are cases where people have unalived people and they ran out and started blowing money and living the high life. But you got to look at everything we're looking at. We're not just going on that. That's why when I first heard about this case, my first thoughts was most likely if the child hadn't been trafficked, that most likely he's unalive, because in a lot of cases, the longer they're missing, the more likely they're unalived. But with some of these other circumstances and facts that we do know, it totally brought it down to in my eyes, a 50-50 chance here.
Correct. And somebody asked, Shane and Delta, do you believe he'll be found and KP and CP will be caught? Well, do I believe he would be found? Again, I don't know. Now, would they be charged? Would they be caught? No. I mean, as far as caught, will they be charged? I believe they will be. Eventually, they will be charged. Yes, I truly believe it.
And I will say this, I've thought about that question many times since I've learned about this case. And that to me is another 50-50, and I'll tell you why. If they're if they're sweating this case now because it's getting the attention that it's getting, and that they're afraid that, now let's say that they don't want to bring Sebastian back because everything will come to light. Would it be the first time in a situation like this that they didn't go ahead and unalive an individual? I have to say it wouldn't be the first time. I hope to God that it's not. If indeed Sebastian is alive, I hope to God not. But to me, that's another 50-50 on that.
All right.
Well, I
want to dummy it
go
down
ahead.
then. Will I believe they could be indicted? Yes.
Yeah.
So I have another theory that I've been talking about a little bit, and I do get some hate because of it. Because people are like, "Why can't you let that go?" Well, we all have instincts, and sometimes you just have to trust your gut, kind of thing. And for me, this is one of those situations that, for some reason, I have not been able to let this go. So, about the sighting in North Carolina, that photo. Yes, they came out. Ellie said that it was not him, that a woman had come forward claiming that it was her son. So my theory is, what if that really was Sebastian in the photo? And what if a lady did come forward and say, "Hey, that was me in the picture and my son"? But what if what she was referring to was her son was the one standing in the photo behind Sebastian? Could Ellie use that as a tactic to get us off of the trace, or anyone off of the of a lead or trace that they're working on?
I believe that the mother of that kid put a picture. Sorry.
Mouthful.
Right. They spoke
Put
to
a
that
pic-
family, but
Right, and put a picture of him on social media, and it looked like the picture of the kid in North Carolina.
it was similar, but there was some things about it that were very off to me also.
Well, I'm going to say this. If the detectives were worth a damn, and I'm going to give them credit that they were, when you rule somebody out from a picture, the first thing so let's just say that's the case, and the family said, "Yeah, that was us. That was my kid. That ain't Sebastian." Well, my thing is okay, well, we're going to need to sit down and talk about this.
Right.
And then from there, not only am I going to want to see a photograph of him, but I'm going to want to see your child.
Right. But what I'm saying is, if Ellie had a lead that he was in that area and they did not want that released, could they have possibly went along with it and said, "No, it's not him. Let's look another direction. It's not him"? Could they have done that?
They could have done that. They could have done that, but that would be if they were actually put out in front of a camera and asked that question, because they're not going to just come out and say it.
Hey, Shane.
I mean, they came. Okay, go ahead.
No, I'll just say somebody had a question for you in the comments. Can you see it?
Well, I'd have to say that it leans to me more to foul play, not runaway.
Yes, I understand that, Christy, and that's why that I quit showing that photo, out of respect, in case that it was truly her son. I'm just saying the whole thing about this case, everything's crazy. Nothing about this makes sense.
Everything needs to be questioned at this point.
Right. And Ellie has contradicted themselves a few times. They've said some things and then retracted, and there's been some slip ups. So it leads me to think, Well, was this a slip up too?
And look, do I believe? Look, there's no for the person that took that picture and even posted it. Am I glad he posted it? I'll be 100%. Yes, I'm glad. Because what if he didn't post it and it was him?
Well, let's go back to that child that was in that video. Remember the video at that? I think it was a soccer game.
Yes.
Where the father was holding him, and they were talking about this child that looked just like him. And I have to say, as an investigator, if I saw that, I would have almost guaranteed that was him. But they found out that it was not.
Right. But wouldn't you, again, you would have rather them post it and be wrong than not
Yeah.
posted it, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's for me, it's the fact that Seth was convinced that that was him in that photo. You know, and a parent knows their child, you know, and that stuck with me.
Well, and like Lady C says, how did Chris immediately know the child was in the photo?
Exactly.
Was not Sebastian.
But yet, but KP and Seth thought differently, and they never showed Seth the video surveillance, which I know they didn't have to. But to me, that raises another red flag that they wouldn't let him see it. He would know by looking at it, by his mannerisms, if it were him. And so that bothered me. But when you look at the photos of that woman's son, so you look at the ears. That's just one thing for me, the ears. His ears were much larger than Sebastian's.
Right.
If you look at the child in that photo behind what we thought was Sebastian, that person, the ears are much larger. The haircut is similar to the photos of her son on social media. There was just several things like that stood out to me. What if this is her son that she's referring to, and he's in the photo, even though it doesn't show his face? But what if that is her and her son? That's a true statement. But what if it's also Sebastian in the photo?
Right.
I mean, it's a very good possibility.
And remember, I think the reason here, as far as showing video, right now, until otherwise proven, everybody is still a suspect.
Right.
Yep.
Even though we know Seth's got a great alibi, he's this, until it's 100%, until the detectives say, guess what? You're no longer a person of interest. Everybody's a suspect. And sometimes they won't tell you that because they don't want to kick the other people's hands.
Right.
You know, I mean, what's it going to look like if, say, detectives go up to Seth and say, hey, guess what? You're clear. You're not a suspect in this thing. You had nothing to do with it. And that's all they say. Now he can turn around if he wants to and say, you know what? I've been cleared. Okay. Now, what are the other two going to think?
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Do you think that they're not telling him he's cleared only because they don't want CP and KP to know that they're onto them?
Absolutely.
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 So they could have known, all along that Seth is actually cleared, but they're just not publicly saying that.
Absolutely.
Or telling him.
I won't even begin to tell you how many times I've made people think that they weren't suspect, when I know damn well they were.
Right.
It goes with the saying, and you guys have all heard it, you catch more bees with honey than vinegar. So when you're still digging, yeah, I'm going to go along with just about anything you're telling me when I'm gathering information.
Yeah, eventually, like I said, you put the bait out there, they're gonna bite.
Right.
They're gonna make a mistake, okay?
Right.
Every criminal does.
In my opinion,
And
they've already
there
made
has to be
several.
Yeah. 'Cause
right.
if they and nobody makes mistakes, I wouldn't be in business, Shane wouldn't be in business.
Right. And there has to be some strategy involved.
Somewhat.
Strategy.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We have a question.
What's that?
Do Katie and CP give off any green flags at all?
Green?
You mean red flags?
No, she said green.
No.
Like, do they look innocent at all to either one of you?
Oh,
No. 100% no. 100% no. I bet my house, car, cat, everybody on it, anything on it.
That crazy cat.
The crazy cat. Absolutely. It comes with the house. That's how sure I am.
Right. Me too.
Monica says everything from day one has been a red flag.
Absolutely.
And I can't for the life of me understand how people stick up for them and think that they're innocent in it. I can't wrap my brain around that. Like, what is it that you see that makes them look innocent?
Yeah, I don't see anything here. I think I think it's a reverse. Everything they say, they make them look more guiltier.
Right.
Well, that's just it. I mean, I can tell you too that my dealings with people, it's amazing, especially when it comes to friends and family. You'd be surprised that they would absolutely, short of giving them actual video footage of them committing the crime, they absolutely won't believe it.
Okay, I don't know what you mean by a lack of evidence is evidence. What do you mean? I'm not understanding what you say there.
Jess, he's still up playing. He had a long, hard day and he took a hard nap late. So, yeah, he's still up playing. He's running his airplanes on my dog.
Is the dog okay? Is he still looking at the basket?
Yeah, she finally got over the basket.
Did she?
She's over there trying to sleep on the couch, and he was sitting on top of her, riding his little airplanes across her back.
Well, yeah,
You're so silly.
and we know that doesn't happen. Nothing vanishes in thin air. Because let me tell you, if your son vanishes, if you're in your living room, your son's in your bedroom, you go to get him, and he's gone, he vanished. You better hope it's the end of the world.
You're right, Lo, they don't.
Yeah. If your child disappears in front of you, I hope it's a rapture.
Exactly.
That's the only thing that's going to happen.
Thank you.
No, they do not have jurisdiction. No, you're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. FBI has no jurisdiction on tribal land, even for murder or unaliving. Take us to you. Hey, you don't want me to take you to church. We won't make it up the stairs.
You wouldn't make it in the parking lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a thought about it, my car would incinerate.
Okay, can you respond to Janelle's comment that
If
it'll
that
probably
was
make
true.
sense to her once you.
Yeah, if that was true, every murder would hide under the reservation. Look, if it's an unaliving case, can they talk to the I'm gonna call him the tribal chief and present their case? Absolutely. But can they force it? No. Again, you're talking now. We're talking you're talking almost extradition.
And Janelle, you would also have to assume that everybody that does unalivings would know, hey, let me just walk onto tribal land and
Right.
hide a body.
Right.
That
Yeah.
ain't gonna happen either. That's
Well, and
almost like walking onto a military base. It doesn't work
Right.
like that.
Correct.
and if someone that was not in the tribe did that, then not only do you have the tribal police, after you, but then you've got FBI after you.
And come on, how many times you pull onto somebody's land where all their family is, and a lot of times they see you coming. Do you think they're just going to stand back and let you do what you're going to do? No.
Yeah, exactly. It would be the tribal council, but overall, the tribal chief would have the final say. If there was ever a negotiation made, it would be with the tribal chief. It wouldn't be with the tribal council.
And that's not to say that they can't work together. Also, they can agree
Correct.
to work together.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
We're not saying that tribal police would never cooperate and that it would all just be swept under the rug. We're saying that they have to give permission. Same with this case right here.
Right.
They
But
have to invite FBI or request FBI to take over. FBI can't just come in and take over without it crossing federal lines or being requested in.
Correct.
So it's the same scenario.
And even if he's alive, will the tribal chief talk to you and listen to your case? Absolutely. Could he say, after listening to all the facts and looking at all the evidence, could he say, okay, you know what? We will bring the child to you.
or he could say no.
Or he
No.
could say no. Absolutely.
And you got to understand too that we would have to have complete evidence to show that we knew he was on your tribal land. Because how are you going to prove one way or the other if you don't have the evidence?
Right.
They definitely can't go on there and check it out.
And it works both ways. It works with people that live on the tribal land. If they commit a crime outside, they have to. Law enforcement has to call the tribal police and turn them over, unless it's unaliving.
Monica says, do they have their own jails, etc.?
Oh yeah, yeah. They got that. They're sovereign citizens.
Yeah.
They got their own laws.
They got their own laws, everything.
Lady wants to know who will break first, KP or CP.
Mom's the
I
weak
don't
link.
see. I don't see any of them.
Yeah, I don't see it either, but the weak link is mom.
Mom would be the weak link, but I don't see any. I think as long as they know, hey, look, we can't testify against each other. We just stick to our story. Well, I mean, that's a good point there as far as CP and his daughter. But again, he's still, again, define. I don't believe he's not involved because look, even if he's not involved, now he's being charged with, and he knew about it. It's called accessory after the fact. He's still going to get charged. Damn, somebody's typing faster than I can.
I always forget that you guys can hear that. They call it my Medea typing.
Yeah.
My
Her,
God.
her like when she's on that calculator.
All you hear is from when I type tick, 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 tick. That's why Kayla waits so long for me to respond. She has to call. She's typing like a lunatic, and I respond so slow.
Lady, let me respond to Lady. No, they can't arrest on inconsistencies in stories.
No.
If that were the case, people who lie all day long would be getting arrested every day. Our jails would be full of nothing but liars.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or worse yet, if they were innocent, the inconsistency of stories of being forgetful or not a very good eyewitness, our prisons would be absolutely overcrowded.
Oh yeah, just a tad bit. Yeah, that's what the hearsay is about. Probable cause, RAS, particular suspicion, reasonable. Let's not forget that shit. Reasonable.
Monica says if he left on his own, she truly believes he'd have been found by now.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Blowing up.
I said that too. He would have somebody at some point. He would need food. He would need something, and
And there would have been trace of him leaving at some point too.
exactly.
And my gut feeling, and I'm sure Shane can back me up a little bit if he wants to, but I don't know. We talked about it briefly. Even if he was on alive, they would have found him by now.
And how many cases that you guys have worked did a child just vanish with no trace and they ran off on their own?
Yeah. No.
I can't say. I don't. That's Shane's field.
Yeah. I mean, there's been very few and far between. And they were not of his stature. When I say stature, I mean his, what is it? His age, with just taking what was on his back and being of the mental capacity that he is, whether he's high functioning or not, he would have been found.
Right. Give me just a second. I'll be right back.
Yeah, there's no way. Yeah, I can almost 99% because I can't say 100. We can rule out the runaway
Mm-hmm.
because there's nothing's ever 100% until it's 100%. So 99.9 you can rule out. I'm going to rule out runaway.
And understand something. When we talk about runaway and going by what the mother is saying, if he was a runaway on foot, I guarantee the tracking dog would have found him. Or,
Absolutely.
you know, everything points to he had, whatever happened, he had to have had help. And whoever helped him had to have been inside that home.
Lo wants to know how many cases where the parent was the only one with them, but they weren't involved.
Wait a minute, say that again?
Where they were the last person to be seen with the child, but they ended up not being involved in the disappearance.
Oh, I mean, it happens a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say it happens a lot.
Now you're talking about in the house and he disappeared from the house and just them two?
Well, hold on now. Even when the ones in the house, you got to remember when they had tracking scent dogs in there that came to the pond, the drain pond, but we also know that it went to the garage. Now, it ended at the pond and it ended at the garage. The likeliness, well, we know he couldn't have gone far from the pond. That was, I'm almost certain, ruled out. But what we can't rule out is the garage was the last known place, which the only thing left we have is a car. Well, who else's car would be in that garage at his home?
Because he sure didn't drive.
And yes, we've heard that theory too about him being, I heard somebody about a family member owns a funeral home, but do they own a crematorium?
Well, and I wouldn't rule any of that out, but I will say that we're still talking about a child that was supposedly left the home where the mother was the last one to see him.
Yeah, I heard that they do own a funeral home, but remember, not all funeral homes do cremation.
Right.
That's usually done by a third party.
And hey, I mean, I wouldn't rule it out, but
No, anything's possible.
Yeah.
But I can't.
Okay, I'm back.
But I can't see a third party that owns a crematorium, I guess, that would do it illegally.
No.
Let me clarify that too. It is not their family that owns the funeral home. There is a Proudfoot that owns a funeral home, but it's not this Proudfoot family.
Okay. I'll rest my case. Thank you.
There's a lot of people that are saying that because it's the Proudfoot name, but it's not the same family.
Yeah, somebody was just saying it in the comments, so that's why I was wondering.
Yeah.
Thank you for clearing that up.
You're welcome. I try my best to stick to facts that I know. I do have my theories, and I say that, it's my theory or this is what I think happened, whatever. But when it comes to those facts, I have tried really hard to debunk anything that I could because there's too much confusion about this case as it is.
Mm-hmm.
So anything that I can rule out or whatever, I've tried my best to do that.
Yeah, you got to stick with facts. Like the fact is, Kayla's eating an ice, chewing on ice, high as hell right now.
No, just chewing on ice.
Well, hey, 1 out of 2 is not bad.
Right.
Okay. Well.
I know a lot of people keep saying that KP and Chris Proudfoot's mom's car are similar. Is that true?
Yes, they are very similar. They're just a different color.
Oh, okay. Similar in looks and stature. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, I'm not understanding what you're saying about the vehicles. They could know. They could know from the per vehicle info, but guess they can't get that info without probable cause. I guess I'm not understanding. Get what?
The black box GPS.
Again, not every vehicle has a GPS.
Yeah, I was gonna.
They do have newer vehicles, so it's likely that they would.
Yeah. Again, but with these, if you buy a vehicle, okay, and you know your vehicle's got a GPS, you can legally tell them you want it off.
Yeah. Well, I know she had a dash cam.
Yeah, dash cam only works when a car's in motion.
Right.
Right.
So where did she go?
I know my dash cam only turns on when my car's on.
If you don't disable it.
What's that?
If you don't disable it.
No, I don't know. It's connected to the car, so if my car's on, turned on, it's on. But if it's off, it will not record anything.
Well, then it should have recorded her leaving the house and her
If she's got
route.
a dash cam, yeah.
Yeah,
Which-
it would show if she stopped somewhere for
But
few
again,
minutes.
doesn't mean you can't manually turn it off either.
That's true.
But it would log that, right?
I'm not an expert on that. I don't know if
Yeah, I'm not real familiar with all that
the tracking and how it works.
because up to it that those are more recent. I mean, within the last 10 years that they've got them like that. I don't know, but I can almost guarantee you that the detectives are looking into all that if they haven't already.
Yeah, I mean, if you use something with, I guess, that's got a GPS tracking on it, like if you use road maps or something to get you from location A and B, now you're using an app that's got to use a navigational system. But I don't know, a cam would just be a regular camera, really. It's not tracking anything. It can record, but I don't think you can be tracked because there's nothing to track.
But wouldn't it have some kind of computer chip or something inside of it to be able to tell when it has been manually turned off and back on?
Yeah, I mean, sure, that would tell you when it was on and off, but that's about it.
Just know, just because it's on or off doesn't prove guilt.
Right.
No, but it makes it just another coincidence that could lead to another door.
But understand, they may already be looking into that if they haven't already.
Sure. There's a lot of scenarios. Again, the thing is, we're at the mercy of the detectives because we don't know what they're looking at.
You know how I have a question. So when there's a case like this and officers go home, are they allowed to talk to their spouses about it?
Well, here's the thing. I'll be honest with you. It's not recommended.
I'm so glad you brought that up.
It's not recommended, and a lot of officers, believe it or not, they'll mention it maybe in passing at dinner or something, but they don't go into the details really.
Okay, so finish that,
What?
and then I'm going to say something.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, it's kind of up to the discretion of the officer. They know better than to say things. And if you're not connected in any way, shape, or form to anybody that's involved with the case that you're working, I'm not going to say it doesn't happen. It can come up at the dinner table. And
So what would...
Go ahead.
Sorry. The lag,
Go
and
ahead.
I keep thinking you're stopping. So what would happen if your spouse or whatever, if you were still working and your spouse was sharing information about the case and you were working the case? What would happen?
Well, it depends. Were there any repercussions that came because of that? I could probably most likely get written up if it affected the case in any way, shape, or form. But I can tell you that a lot of wives of officers, they understand the magnitude of, you know, what needs to be kept secret and not told.
Right. I mean,
Right.
obviously, I know the answer to this, but I just needed you guys to address it. But
Well, my case is different. I don't discuss mine with anybody. Not even if my better half, not even my closest friend. Whatever my client tells me, present, future, past cases, I will never disclose that with anybody.
right, if you were working on this case and your spouse was on social media telling information about the case, the people involved, things like that, what would happen?
He'd be visiting me.
It depends. It depends on the repercussions of it. If somebody in there on social media started talking and then the agency found out that that individual was, spouse was on there, the first thing they would do is pull the officer in and they would tell the officer that, listen, your spouse is giving out detailed and information that could totally jeopardize this investigation.
But
So
would you be okay with it if your spouse was the one doing that?
no, I wouldn't.
That's where I was going with that.
I would be angry.
That's where I was going with that.
I guess a fair question, Shane, would be when it's all said and done at the end of the day. Yeah, I mean, can they say something as long as it's not impeding the investigation?
Yeah, well, of course. Would it look good if they found out that was your spouse?
No,
That would be the other question.
absolutely.
Huh? Yeah, I mean, yeah, well, exactly. But it would go back to what I was saying about did it directly affect the investigation? Yes. Then the officer can be written up and possibly pulled off the case.
Right.
So it could be very damaging.
Yes.
Yeah, again, that wouldn't help. That would help if the defense finds out. That would help us a lot, big time.
Oh yeah, you'd have a heyday with that.
Twisted, sometimes the best help people can give law enforcement is to just stay out of the way.
Well, it goes back to remember what I said, and that social media sometimes makes everything worse for an investigation. It doesn't help it.
I mean, I think sometimes it can help because, they may be able to find information or a lead that maybe they weren't aware of. And by putting your heads together, you're able to find different things. But I agree that it can be very damaging also. I think it's just how you handle it.
I'm not going to say that it hasn't helped. I'm sure it has helped. Do I know of any situations like that? No, because most people who have any good information or information at all will call the detectives and give it to them, but they won't sit and totally disperse it all over the internet.
Right.
But like you said, it just makes it harder. That's all it does. It makes it much more difficult because now they got to sift through he said, she said theories, hypothetics, everything, you name it.
Right.
Yeah,
That's,
if you
that's
got- I
the
guess
part
if
of
you-
Right.
staying out of the way.
Yeah, if you got information, can you call the tip line? Absolutely. Now, if you got credible information, absolutely call the detective directly.
But remember, that's the key word. Credible.
Right. That's a good point, Cubby. Gabby Petito case. That case was solved because of social media.
Yeah, like I said, can it help? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I was just giving you one case that it, you know, it was proof that it did. But I know in most cases it does hurt.
Well,
But it's how you use it.
Well, understand this. Understand this. Well, I just want to say this. If you're on social media and let's just say you're talking about facts, we know that there was a tennis shoe involved. We know that there's a red car involved. We know that this, that, and the other thing are facts. Then it won't hinder the investigation in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
However, when you have everybody and their brother talking about hypothetics, you know, this and that and their theories and all that. Yeah. I mean, does it make it difficult? Yeah, it does. However, law enforcement really isn't going to sit there and listen to all this because they've got more facts than we do.
Right.
But does it happen where, you know, I'll give you an example of something. My aunt, who was a homicide detective, we lived about, I think it was about 3 hours away from her. And we had an incident that had occurred in where I was living. When I was visiting my aunt, we were discussing a situation that was going on in my hometown. And my aunt, not telling me a damn thing that she does other than she is and was a homicide detective, asked me more detailed about something that I had brought up that was going on because she had a similar case that she was investigating in her area. So she immediately the next day contacted the detectives at that agency in my city to find out more information, and she did so. But it was clear that they weren't the same, you know, that the two crimes were totally different. But
Right.
there was a lot of similarities. But see, that could have been an instance where possibly they could have gotten more information because there was a lot of similarities.
Right.
But that was just in passing of talking about, you know, something that was happening.
Mm-hmm. And the only reason why I even brought that up was just because I didn't want someone running and saying, oh, Shane said that social media never can help with a case.
Oh, no. And I've said it, and Delta, you've heard me say it several times. Can it help? Absolutely. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
But I can only tell you that facts have to be totally accurate.
Right.
And it's hard to have all the facts when you're not even the ones on the inside of the investigation.
Right.
But here again, yes. I mean, I'm not against it. I just think that certain things shouldn't be said if you do know something, because
right. I agree.
It hurts.
Mm-hmm. I agree 100%.
And look,
And again, a lot of times when I ask these questions, I'm not asking them for me. I'm asking them so that other people will hear your responses.
Absolutely. I realize that.
yeah, again, and remember, a lot of people will use the social media as how you say it? They don't want to be known.
Mm-hmm.
They want to get information, but they don't want to stay anonymous.
Right.
I think everything can be both good and bad, though.
Sure.
No one says when something happens, the whole internet becomes detectives.
You're right.
Yep. Unfortunately, but
And look, I mean, I'm not going to sit there. There's some people that they know what they're doing. I mean, I mean, I'm gonna use you, Kayla. You as long as you bring facts, you, it's absolutely fine. K-Gen, the same thing. You know, you
Yeah.
guys bring facts. That's 100% great. It's to me, the people that want to try to solve this case and make things up that aren't true is what's going to hurt it.
Right. Or running with rumors before doing your own research. Just
Exactly.
because you heard it on the internet.
Absolutely.
Because all it takes is one person saying it, and then it just spreads like wildfire.
And if you don't know the answer to something, just say that you don't know.
Right.
It's okay not to know something.
Yeah, absolutely.
And know this, the detectives, it's not going to hurt this case in the sense that it will totally destroy anything that they've got, like evidence or anything like that. Understand that if it hurts the case, what hurts the case is the fact that detectives don't have the manpower to investigate all the leads that social media could be throwing out there. We're talking about hundreds of man hours of paid workers that usually only have one or two men or women that are going out there and trying to gather information.
No, you're right.
It just puts them behind. So instead of solving it next week, they're going to solve it next year. And that's what I'm trying to say.
The manpower. But you know what, guys? I got a early meeting tomorrow morning, kind of an important one.
You going golfing again?
No. That's no. It's a.
He's got that appointment with the hair club for men.
Oh
Yeah.
gosh.
I'll be.
Are you getting a facial?
K-Gen, I'll be. Kayla already. So.
Yeah, I got to be getting off too because I got to work in the morning. Thank you, everybody, for coming in. Thank you,
All right,
for being
guys.
up here and hanging out.
Another great live there.
Yeah,
Kayla, another great live.
absolutely. I'll hop over on mine for just a little bit because I do need to discuss with the ones that are going on the trip with us next week for to do the search. For anyone that doesn't know, we got a search team going next weekend. If anyone would like to join us, hop over to my live and we'll discuss that. And the more the merrier. We'd love to have anyone that wants to help out.
Yeah, I recommend jumping on over there. It's much like this one, very calm.
You.
And other than that, we will see you guys on the flip side. Thanks for coming.
Thanks again.
Aw,
James,
thank you,
we'll talk
guys.
tomorrow. K-Gen,
All
I'll
right.
see you, and we'll be